So, to restore the sound monetary system, we have to re-examine our position with regards to taxes and withholding. And one last thing I'll say about money and the psychology of it, because it is part of the deception. Markets and prices are not rising.
The dollar's falling down.
Buying power is falling because the dollar is devaluing. But they never tell you that. Inflation is just the consequence of the devaluation of the currency. And taxes and withholding, by the way, from your paycheck are just other ways to manipulate the money supply to make sure that you stay in your job just over broke, so that there isn't any disposable income left over, and they're going to recycle all that currency, whether it's actual physical money or just on an accounting ledger, back to the Federal Reserve. So they manage the economy to make sure that, and as everybody's feeling today in this alleged recession, that the money, there doesn't seem to be as much money out there, and people are losing jobs and they can't pay their mortgages and all this stuff because the pool that was circulated has been constricted, and they're exponentially extracting that money out of the system and moving it up to the 1%. You know? So what would you call that? Anything else except stealing and theft or legal plunder at a scale unprecedented in history. But then again, why be surprised? Because that was the very agenda behind establishing the Federal Reserve System in 1913. It was in the subtext, it wasn't in the literal act. But in the subtext was, he who makes rules the gold makes the rules. And by controlling the money supply, the Fed and all those other central bankers knew and understood that eventually they would accomplish 100% property confiscation of the American people. They would take everything you have. And Jefferson said, Americans aren't watchful and vigilant. One day they will wake up homeless in the land of their forefathers. Gosh, it seems like it's happening. But then again, I don't mind it. Huh?
Money's mostly virtual, somewhere between, I think only about 20% of the money actually physically exists.
Oh, it's not even 20%, it's probably less than 1%.
Yeah.
In physical circulation. There's only $200 billion of actual Federal Reserve notes in circulation in a almost $15 trillion economy. So it's very, very minuscule, the amount of cash. But we don't need cash. There's other ways that you can be moving your productivity around. But see the shift in mindset that has to occur? We all have to become producers in the system again. If we want to reverse the trend towards national socialism and totalitarian government, which, by the way, is what happened to the Soviet Union before it collapsed, we're on the same road doing the exact same thing, and Khrushchev warned us, we never have to invade you folks. You're going to fall into the lap of socialism without firing a shot. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he told Kennedy way back when. And sure enough, Americans have given up the dream of a free country and a free enterprise system and are moving right into national socialism. And the consequence of that will be, well, the Soviets couldn't get toilet paper on the shelves. We might be a little better off. We have better machinery, but we might not be able to afford the toilet paper on the shelves. So. But see what happened to the Soviet Union after it collapsed was it became an outlaw nation for a while and gangster-driven, but it became highly entrepreneurial because there was no choice. There was no choice. No more checks coming from the government. You know what they say, every government employee is exactly 30 days away from disloyalty. When you stop getting that check, you don't love your government so much anymore. So it became extremely entrepreneurial. I'm suggesting that before, to reverse that trend now, Vision for a New America is that we can begin to be productive again and entrepreneurial again and take something, create something and bring it into the market. And that's what I've done all my life. I've never worked for a corporation, never worked for a government, never worked for a university. I've been entrepreneurial all my life. I've done extremely well and made millions, I've lost millions, and who cares? It's all just a learning process anyway.
Make money anyway.
There's no money anyway. It wasn't about the money. It was about what can you manifest? What can you actually produce of value? And a lot of times you produce a great value without exchanging any money. Mothers and babies and looking after young people and caretaking elderly, and those are all, you know, highly unpaid positions. Teaching the young, being mentors, all those things. So value is really the issue. If we're trading value, we'll prosper. And I don't know about money. That's another question. And I'll leave it to you to make up your mind about that. So let's boycott our paper money substitutes. No third-party transactions. No more banking at all if you can avoid it. All private cash transactions are using barter and trade, things like that. These are all transitional things. Obviously, you're still going to use some money for a while. So that's an important piece. I don't know how our time is, but I've got 3 or 4 more points here to
You
make.
got plenty of time, only an hour.
I really got it down. It used to take 4 or 5 hours to do this. You must be all really super smart. Yes.
Sure, we're all smart. I have a quick question. I have a bank account, and you know, you get the bill pay for your electric bill, and all this. How would you recommend us to pay those kind of
Go get
bills?
gift cards at the bank. Pay cash, get a debit card, go get one, put $500 on it, go pay your bills. It's anonymous.
Okay,
Gift cards are everywhere. You can still do it. You just order on the internet, do whatever.
thank you.
That's a simple way. That's probably a good time to just field a couple of comments or questions. How are we doing out there anyway? Nobody's fallen asleep yet, I don't think. Nobody's fallen asleep, but
Can you
have we?
read David Thoreau's Spirit.
All right.
You know, and it's what I call the microeconomy.
Yeah.
You know, we could be working by educating ourselves or teaching ourselves talents, you know, whatever. So I call it the microeconomy.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's a good word for it. Any other comments, questions, anything at this point?
What do you do if you like your own social security and that's the only means of income until you find something else?
That's right, you'll stick with it. We're not gonna put you out in the street. Nobody goes out in the street. Just do whatever you gotta do.
You'd have to still have to deal with the bank to do it.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's not a
taking
perfect plan
into-
until we're all autonomous and all taking care of each other.
You can minimize your dealings with banks, you can kind of be more private, constantly become more private all the time, and be more evasive and less visible in your transactions, you know.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
by hand, take it away.
I just would disagree sort of with that statement, in that you said earlier about the work that we have to do. How much work would it really take for everybody to rise up and say, hey, somebody issued me a false currency, and we became the victims and beneficiaries of jokers putting fake money in play? And, you know, I've always been on this little kick that if we could just get that right and say, hey, why are we really at war? Why are people that don't produce anything filthy, stinking rich, and other people that are working their asses off and just getting trapped by labor law of supply and demand? And so, in a lot of ways, in what we wind up doing, we're just kind of hiding and never just sort of sticking. I mean, everything you said was just so eloquent, and you're like making me go through thoughts that I've had in the past about who I should be and what real spirituality would be, but it's just like falling flat, and I just can't get, I can't get it out of my head that all the talk in a certain way is a way we get around doing that. Hey, somebody made this world run, revolve around a false currency, and it's just a bad thing, and not being able to sort of stand and deliver on that level.
Well, it is, and we know, and we can talk story about more of that and how it got to be the way it is. But frankly, I'm bored of that conversation. I'm bored of the conversation about pointing fingers and blame and doing all the other stuff of why things aren't the way it should be. All I focus my energy and attention on, and for the rest of my life, is on what can I build, and what can I create, and what can I produce. That's all I do, from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep at night to the minute they bury me in that grave or cremate me. I'm just going to be a great producer and produce value and exchange value in all kinds of different ways. And it is so rewarding to do that. And to be in service in some way too. And, to have community, we have to learn trust. We have to learn trust again. We've been so beaten down in distrusting everything and everybody. It's like we don't want to look each other in the eye. We don't want to do anything. We're always afraid of the scam and the scammers. And yes, be discerning. Be discerning. That's a mental faculty. We all have to be discerning. We've got to know the difference between right and wrong, black or white. We've got to know the difference between the internet that's good information and the internet that's disinformation. And there's just as much crap on the internet as there is good stuff. And there's just as much crap coming at you every day when you open up the newspapers or turn on the TV or watch a movie or anything else. It takes a razor edge of a mind to be discerning and to know those distinctions. Distinction is where